All right, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. What's your take on the energy use for all this mining? What's the environmental factor? That's what I'm concerned about.
I love that you asked that question because I did some research, and 6% of the global power in the world is spent on banking.
Are you saying that Bitcoin's better than the dollar, or the dollar's better than Bitcoin, or what?
Yeah, I'm saying that Bitcoin is better than the US dollar.
What do you mean by better? Like everybody's going to start using it again, or it's easier to use, or it's better to use, or what do you mean by better?
Well, I think it's designed better. It's designed for the people. It's cheaper to make, transfer, and use every single day. Maybe not specifically Bitcoin, because Bitcoin has some issues with transaction times and fees. But cryptocurrency in general is much better than the money we have today. It's very wasteful, the money we have today.
Okay, so you're saying to use money online in cryptocurrency would be better than to use the paper money that we're using now?
Paper money, or the money that we use online on bank accounts. Same. Yes, it's much better.
Well, is it because there's no interest?
Well, the interest, no, well, it's because I think it's much cheaper to use money. So if I want to send money, for example, out of seas, it's the same as me paying you right now. It will be the same amount of fee, very low.
Oh, okay. So the rate of transfer of currency is cheaper than the American rate.
Right. And also there's other advantages, such as it can be anonymous. So if I pay you, if it's the dollar, you can also be anonymous with dollar, right? But it's a problem when I want to pay you a lot. I have to carry a lot of cash with me. But if I have Bitcoin, I can just carry a password.
Okay, so why doesn't everybody have Bitcoin?
Because it's still new, and we all born for, the past 200 years the dollar was invented, right? So I think people were just born with the knowledge of this what money is. It's dollar, and you have to make it, and this is the standard, and that's it. That's why we're used to it.
What? Well, isn't Bitcoin expensive?
Well, you can break it down to small pieces. Yeah, it's worth thousands, but you can.
How do you get it? I mean, like if I wanted to get some Bitcoin now, how would I get it?
You can go online and exchange your dollar to Bitcoin. You can mine Bitcoin with computers, or you can exchange it with people every day. If you know people that have Bitcoin, you can exchange with them if you trust them.
Okay, so how much is one Bitcoin for $1 ratio right now?
I think one Bitcoin worth about $8,300 for one Bitcoin.
Okay, so everyone doesn't have $8,000.
But you can also buy fractions of Bitcoin. So if you have $1, it's 0.0001 of a Bitcoin.
Okay, got it. Okay, so what can you buy with the Bitcoin? I guess it boils down to what can I buy with the Bitcoin? Can I buy some water? Can I buy this? Or what can I buy with a Bitcoin?
So you can go online and pretty much buy whatever you want with Bitcoin. You can also have a credit card that's loaded up with Bitcoin and use it as currency, fiat currency, convert it for you. So you can use a credit card right now, and you can you can convert it to dollar with your bank account and have it cashed out. You can use it as a credit card, or you can use it for people who are thousands of all over the world. That's increasing every day that accepts Bitcoin.
Okay, well I can sort of understand that, but the usability for that right now in the real world rather than online is that I'd have to get whatever I wanted from online. Does Amazon take Bitcoin?
Not yet, but there are third company services who exchange that will let you use Bitcoin and shop on Amazon.
Yeah, well, I mean, in the future that might be different, but right now I can't use Bitcoin anywhere on this boardwalk. So I use the dollar anywhere on this boardwalk. So I would have to say, in my book, right now the dollar is more useful than Bitcoin. But if everybody bought into it, maybe the rate would be cheaper with Bitcoin, and that would be a different form of currency that we could buy or use. But it's not there yet.
Right. Maybe it's not very popular right now, but it's still better than dollar.
Well, I guess what you're saying is cryptocurrency is better than paper transfer of money. Hey, look, that's where we're going. I would agree in that part, because we're all going towards that way. We're not going to be using paper dollars that much longer. They're going to be in effect, but not too much longer. So yeah, I agree with it.
I totally agree with you. Yeah, thank you, man. Is there anything else you want to add or tell us, or anything?
I like that you're building a conversation and getting it out there and letting people know that this is the future and way monies and transactions are going to go, because it's easier and people like to do it easier, but everybody's not online yet, at that level. It's sort of like when the dot-com bubble first started and then it popped, and then because the banks weren't ready. The banks weren't ready to handle all those transactions, but now in the early 2000s, the banks became ready, and then you saw how the dot-com just, blew up. Every major company is a dot-com, is like an app or a website. So, it's taken away the brick and mortar. People thought, you'd always have brick and mortar buildings. People always want to shop. But now Amazon's going to deliver everything. So people can want convenience and stuff like that. So when major players, when people can buy stuff with Bitcoin, like if Amazon says, hey, you know what, we're accepting Bitcoin now, then there's going to be a major shift. So hopefully, currency rate with Bitcoin and that type of thing will stay up.
Yeah, I think it will be better for people who have savings that they don't really know how to invest it or anything.
Right.
They can use cryptocurrency as a more, hopefully in the future, it's more stable way and a cheaper way to use money and value of things in general.
Yep, sounds good, and thank you very much for your conversation.
Yeah, thank you, and
keep up the great work.
Thank you, you too.
All right, buddy. All right, so here's the history of money in the U.S. currency, okay? Now, the U.S. had a lot of gold because we used to trade in gold, okay? But what happened was we got into a lot of wars earlier in the years, and to pay back those wars, we had to give up our gold, to be honest with you. So we needed another form of currency because we were in debt. And there was a group of people called the Bilderbergs or what have you, and they came together because they had money, and they loaned the government money. But the name of the company was called the Federal Reserve. So it's a private company. It's a privately held company called the Federal Reserve. It doesn't have to do with the government. They lent the U.S. the money. Now, to back that, okay, since we didn't have a whole bunch of gold to back it.
Silver, right?
No, we didn't back it with silver. We backed it with the U.S. people. What Roosevelt did, he said, look, we can only back this with the people. And what we'll do is that we will pay interest, and we will make sure that everyone gets a birth certificate, and everyone gets a birth certificate. So that way, the tax dollars will go to paying back the loan, to paying back the debt. So what happened was we got a whole bunch of money lent from the Federal Reserve, and they got interest on the money that they lent, and they put it in a bank note. It says Federal Reserve note, so it's like an IOU. So it's money that's lent, and we're paying back, old debt. And that's the problem. That's why we have, a national debt. That's why they call it a national debt, because we're paying back the debt.
And you think it's a sustainable and a smart way to create value for people to exchange with each other?
Well, here's what it is. It was created so the government can control the exchange of products. So it's been working, because they'll, increase the interest if they want something to, well, they tell you every year, the Federal Reserve, the Fed's doing this, the Fed's doing that, because they want to make sure that, the currency remains the same around the world, not just in U.S., because now it's a global economy. So first it was a local economy, and then, 100 years, 200 years, it grew to a global economy, and the U.S. dollar is basically what the global relies on, because it's used all over the world. And so that's the major part that Bitcoin has to, the battle with, because look, it's used everywhere, like American Express is used everywhere. So it's like, okay, if everybody has to use something, when they transfer it, then what's going to happen to the dollar? Is it going to go down? Okay, so if it goes down, then the government is going to say, okay, Bitcoin, we're sorry we lost. No, it doesn't work like that. You're an enemy of the state now. Okay, so what happens is that your currency tried to crash our currency. So there's a level that you have to work with, the government, because the government owns the currency, that we're working with. So in regards to history, how it works is that when we loaned the money, when we received the loan from the Federal Reserve, we decided to pay it back and keep paying it back and keep paying it back, and we will keep paying it back until we use a different form of currency.
Yeah, so thank you for all that information. That's really, really useful. And but I still think that letting one government control the whole world of economy is a little bit risky and dangerous, and maybe unfair towards the common people.
Right, and I guess what society is realizing that, and so that's why people are investing in U.S. currency, and they're also investing in Bitcoin. You see, they're investing in other forms of trade because before the U.S. currency was involved, people used to trade. Merchants, used to trade in this, in this land. There was just trading. Before the Europeans came in, the French were fur trading. They were trading furs. They were doing all this stuff, with the Moors and stuff. So it wasn't a form of currency of dollars. It was just fair trade, all over the country. But when the dollars came in, it was easier. And it was that was the government, and it's what we were using, so it was easier to trade. Now, here's another thing, too. At the very beginning of the United States, the Confederacy, I don't know if you know about the North and the South and the Civil War, they were printing their own money. So it wasn't the U.S. dollar, it was a Confederate dollar. It was Confederate money, and that's why we went to war. You can't print two monies in the same country. So you have to, this is going to be one country with $1, so
yeah,
that's how that worked.
It might be maybe a choice for people to either use, I think it's a choice at the end.
Yeah, it should be a choice, just like you shouldn't put all your money in one bank. You should have 2 or 3 different banks where you put your money in, because one bank can go down. One currency could go down, like Venezuela. But, it just depends, but you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. So it's
right.
Good to diversify. That's what billionaires tell you. You got to diversify your funds. Diversify.
And I agree. The same thing with, I think it's the same thing with, there's a lot of multiple cryptocurrencies for different uses. Yeah. So I think it's the same way for me.
Well, here's the funny thing, too. You know about Second Life? You know how they have that where you have Second Life and they have their own currency.
It's a website. It's like a game online. Yes,
it's like a web life. It's a site, but people they have their own life. They make money making imaginary clothes for the people in the community. So they have currency. People are making regular dollars, transferring into making a living, making a good living. Just using that imaginary money for that community. So they're already doing it,
At the end, whatever is imaginary, if enough people believe in it, it becomes real.
Well, what's going to happen is now we're in 4D. All right, so people are going to see things, and they're going to put things in your vision that are going to be there, but it's not going to be real. Have you ever seen the 4D glasses and stuff? People are going to be locked in that, but they're going to be able to bring it out. Like we're watching out here, like holograms and stuff like that, and it's going to trip people out. So now they're getting people used to it, with the glasses. But then you're going to see figures over there. You're like, is that real? You're going to have to touch it. So it's going to be different, but you're going to have to transition into that. And yeah, you're not really going to know. You're going to have to trust yourself.
Right. And I think exploring and learning and doing research is one of the most important things in life.
Yep.
I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man. Keep up the great work, man. Keep up what you're doing. I'm subscribed to your channel and keep spreading the knowledge.
Thank you so much.
All right,
have a good day. How you doing, man?
Doing well. How are you?
Good. What's your name?
Emil.
Nice to meet you. Idan.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. So I think Bitcoin is better than US dollar. What do you think?
I want you to tell me why, and then I'll make my case.
Well, there's a lot of reason why. I think it's because it's cheaper to manipulate, to create, to move around, especially international business. It has abilities to be anonymous, which is a big advantage for business too. I also think that most of the money anyway right now is digital dollar, right? But it's not backed up by anything. And it's manipulated by small groups of companies or people who can generate as much money as they want with the reserve and all that. So with Bitcoin, it's set amounts, and I like that. And there is no inflation in Bitcoin because it's also set amount of Bitcoin always. So that's one of the reasons.
Okay. When you say it's not backed up, you're talking about the U.S. dollar or Bitcoin?
No, I'm saying what I'm trying to say is money used to be, U.S. dollar used to be backed up by silver until the 1970s, and it's not anymore. It's just speculation or, what people believe in it, just like Bitcoin, I guess.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't that exactly what Bitcoin is?
It somewhat is, but it has a few differences where it's not. There's no government behind it. It's 100% by the people.
Okay. And what is your take on the fact that it can be hacked or gotten into?
So the hacking part is usually user error, to be honest with you, because the encryption itself of Bitcoin, SHA-256, is almost impossible to hack right now, to open up. So if you have a Bitcoin wallet that is correctly secured, unless you give someone your password or somehow give someone your private key, nobody will ever take your Bitcoins.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I suppose. You hear all the stories of people, losing millions of dollars or losing their Bitcoin wallet or anything, but I suppose it's the same with
Cash?
Yeah, cash.
If you have a bunch of cash with you, if you lose it, what's going to happen?
It's gone.
So it's the same with Bitcoin, but the benefit of you don't have to have a stack of cash. You can move it around the world. Very easy.
Okay. And you want it to be a system where I can go into a store and buy anything with cryptocurrency.
That's right.
That's the goal.
Right.
Okay. Huh.
And you have a reason why you don't think it's a good idea?
I guess it's just too volatile. It changes way too much to be even trusted.
Well, there is a token named Tether, and that's $1. It's very, very stable. So you can use that if you want to in cryptocurrency world. That's not volatile at all.
Okay. Huh. And so if we did shift over to cryptocurrency, would we have to make it so that there's the same amount of cryptocurrency as there is dollars? Is that how that would work?
Yeah, I don't know exactly how it's going to work, and I don't think it's ever going to. I don't know if it's going to be a shift, but I think cryptocurrency will be as used as US dollars. I think one day. So maybe you will have a choice, right? But it will be a more convenient, cheaper, better, faster way to shop and exchange value. Because what money is, it's a representative of value. So let's say I want to buy something from you, instead of me giving you 50 pounds of tomatoes for a piece of meat. I don't know. We exchange dollar, right? So I think Bitcoin does the same thing eventually, but a better, cheaper, faster way.
Okay. Interesting. And
you agree or disagree?
I don't know. I guess it's a very abstract concept to me still.
I see. So are you into Bitcoin at all? Did you buy any, or did you?
I'm interested in it. I have a very, very small investment in Litecoin, which has turned out to be a loss so far.
Is that why you don't like cryptocurrency?
No, I have nothing personal attached to it. It's just it's hard to grasp the concept, and it's just such an abstract idea that it in a way it's hard to trust,
Probably because we were born with money, right? We were born we've been told from our parents, from everybody around us, that's how money works. You have the dollar, you have different currencies, right? And that's how it works. But now it seems to be maybe different.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna throw a curveball at you. What's your take on the energy use for all this mining? What's the environmental factor? That's what I'm concerned about.
I love that you asked that question, because I did some research, and 6% of the global power in the world is spent on banking. If you take mining of Bitcoin, it's, I think, somewhere 0.001%. So cryptocurrency, even though take the mining into consideration, takes a lot less power than the banking system we have today.
Okay, that is a new figure. That's it's good to hear.
You can look it up. It's online. It's very available.
Yeah, cool. All right. So as a interested investor, what is your advice?
Oh, okay, I never really give investment advice. I think my advice to you is do your research, read articles, diverse, and learn more about cryptocurrency. The more you learn, the better your life will be.
Yeah. So how many cryptocurrencies do you have?
It's a good question you ask me. I'm not gonna answer that, but I still think Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are better than money.
Okay. All right. And do you think that we are in a bubble? Do you think we're in a crypto bubble?
I think bubble is something we have to have in order for new technology to come in. Just like the internet bubble. So it's something that have to happen with any new technology.
Okay.
Wow, this is crazy. So it's crazy what's going on. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
I appreciate it.
I learned a lot, man.
Have a good day.
I hate you so much right now. I hate you.
Hey man, how you doing?
Good.
What's your name?
Ruben.
Yeah, we're friends, by the way.
Yeah, nice to see you. Yeah.
Let's try it again. Hey man, how you doing?
Good. Nice to see you.
Yeah, he's my friend Ruben here. He helped me set up everything. So he also want to talk about Bitcoin a little bit.
Let's do it. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
So I think Bitcoin is better than US dollar. What do you think?
I disagree, mainly due to the stability.
Okay. But you know that since like for the past, let's say 50 years, the value of dollar dropped significantly.
Yeah, there is constant drop or inflation or whatever you want to call it, but it's no more than 5% in a positive or negative direction. And so that's where the stability lies, that that you're not going to lose 50% or 30% or 20% of your money in a short interval of time.
Right, but it will never be, like your money will never be valued more than, let's say, 20%.
I mean, you can't say never, but yes, most likely not. And that's where the stability, that's the whole idea of a currency, is to have stability, that when you transfer goods, that same transfer, there's a medium thing, which is considered a currency. So if I buy an apple, right, or you sell an apple and you get something and you want to buy, I don't know, something that's not a fruit, like a computer, right? You have that middle currency, and in the transaction between buying an apple and a computer, you have something that won't fluctuate.
Don't you agree that Bitcoin eventually and cryptocurrency eventually will flat out and will be stable?
Why would you believe that?
Because I mean, the more people will use it, the more people will exchange it, the more likely it will be more stable over time.
I don't see how the correlation or the concepts work.
I understand. Well, there's also like other coins like Tether where it never.
That would actually decrease the value of other coins. So if Bitcoin started raising in value, let's just say, and another coin wanted to drop that price and destabilize Bitcoin, you can create an unlimited amount of coins. And you know that there's 3,000 or I don't know how many, but a big amount of coins out there that could easily switch. People could switch from Bitcoin to Litecoin to my coin to your coin.
What's wrong with that?
Well, then that causes destability, and so that whatever money you stored, so if you take your whole life savings, you put it in US dollar, you know that it's not going to decrease significantly over time.
Don't you? Oh, okay.
Yeah, but if you put your life savings into Bitcoin, which some people have, you know what can happen.
Yeah, I understand, but diversity is very important. I think even if you have just money in the bank, it's very important to diversify, because if not, we both know that your life savings will be worth less for sure.
I agree, diversification, and maybe part of that could be a cryptocurrency if you feel like it or you think it's worth the investment. But there's other ways to diversify your portfolio, such as stocks, gold. There's many different ways. Venture capitalism. I mean, I can go on and on, but yeah.
Right. Well, another problem I have with money is that if I want to do like a transfer of a lot of money online to a different country, it's going to cost me a lot of money to do that.
Yeah, and people are working, I think, to work with that and lower that cost. My credit card, I don't know if this counts, not that I'm an expert in any of this, but my credit card doesn't cause, there's no foreign transaction fees, and I use my credit card, and I'm fine doing that in other countries.
What about for business? I cannot use my credit card. A lot of times they require wire transfer.
Then that can be solved, but I don't know if cryptocurrency is necessarily the solution, and I don't see why other banks couldn't find out a solution for that. And with that, you also get the backing of a bank and the company behind it.
Okay, but what about a solution? You didn't give me. You just told me that there might be a solution or they're working on it, but they don't have a solution right now.
Well, just a small transaction fee. I don't see how that's a big.
It's $45 if I want to do a wire transfer to another country from my Bank of America.
For how much money?
It doesn't matter.
So if I'm a big business and I do $20 million, what's $45 every 20 million transaction?
But what happens if you have like 1,000 customers in out of season that all of them need wire transfer?
I understand where you're getting from, and that would be $45,000 or so. But I'm sure that $45. I'm sure there's another. Just like the free market capitalism works, we have people that can lower that price. So maybe the next person comes around and says, "I can do that wire transfer for $40."
Well, it still costs a lot of money to do wire transfer. If you can do Western Union, that takes a lot of money. You could do. There's a few other sources that all cost more than cryptocurrency.
And cryptocurrency has a price too, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah. It's Bitcoin Cash, for example, is like less than pennies.
Okay, well, if somebody has a common central bank, let's say Bank of America, right, that goes to a different country and sets up shop there, they can transfer money for even cheaper because it's in their internal services.
Is that for everybody, every country, everywhere I go?
No, it's not, but it can.
Can I open an account? Like, can I open a Bitcoin wallet everywhere I go, anywhere I am, no matter what, where or what?
If you don't have internet access, you can't.
Of course, in the condition that you have internet access.
And a bank account, you don't need internet access.
But some people in some countries cannot open a bank account no matter what they do.
Correct. But
they can open Bitcoin wallet.
If they have internet access, which a government can control.
Okay, but most people is going to have internet access pretty soon anyways.
Right now, half the world does not have access to the internet.
So, and then in the future, most of people are going to have internet.
A government can easily, as you can see, they shut down cryptocurrencies in other countries and restrict their usage of cryptocurrencies. So yes, a government can shut down internet and control it.
Okay. Well, in places where they don't have control, obviously, if you can control your internet, they're going to control your bank account, they're going to control your money as well.
Exactly. So the countries that you don't have to worry about are the ones that you can set up a bank at.
So where is the value? If I go to a country, they control my bank account, they control my internet, where is the value of money for me compared to Bitcoin there?
Well, if they control your internet, how are you going to access Bitcoin?
How am I going to access my bank account?
Exactly. So I mean, there's no.
So that's why it's not a valid reason why it's better to use a bank than to use a Bitcoin.
But those countries, what we're talking about, are countries that, if you can access a bank account in that country, then you can access Bitcoin. So, I mean,
right.
But if you can't access Bitcoin in a country, they can easily take it.
But the government can also seize your money from your bank account.
They could also seize your Bitcoin if they want.
No, they cannot.
I mean, with a ledger, from my understanding, all ledger records data, correct?
Right. So the way it works that every time transaction happens, it's recorded in the blockchain, and they record it forever.
And so I'm not an expert on this, but obviously you can go look at the ledger or the blockchain and be able to see transactions that happen and penalize or criminalize or whatever you want to call it and target people based on that ledger or that transaction.
Well, when it comes to that, they have a coin called Zcash where the ledger is actually hidden. You don't really see who has what, but the transaction is basically anonymous 100%.
So is that Bitcoin?
No, that's Zcash.
Okay, so then I get what you're saying, and that's another cryptocurrency that could be an option. But then if that cryptocurrency for some reason is hacked or something, I don't know if it's on blockchain, but if something happens to it, right, it's hard to know and go back and see which transactions occurred, which ones didn't, and people can potentially screw with the system.
Right, but we already know that Zcash works, and blockchain been working for many years and never actually got hacked. So we're saying that it's going to get hacked is unlikely scenario that did not happen yet.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the technology, I think, is actually less important than most people think. I think it's really about the stability of the coin or a currency and how many people actually believe in it and want to use it rather than the technology. I think right now you can make 1,024-bit encryption that probably won't be broken for a very long time. And sure, blockchain might not be broken, but, you won't have... I mean, there's a lot of things that we trust billions of dollars and companies trust to keep them safe, and U.S. military and everything. So I think it's less about the actual... And on that note, U.S. dollar could obviously turn into a crypto eventually, or some type of encryption service.
Right, and I'm totally not against that. I mean, if that's what's going to happen, that's one way of cryptocurrency coming onto our lives.
And I think if that ever does happen, Bitcoin and all the other cryptocurrencies will go down and crash.
Maybe. Because don't forget, there's a lot of utility coins, right? So there's a lot of coins that are used for specific things, not necessarily as money.
Okay, so they're not a cryptocurrency.
Right, but some of them are cryptocurrency that can be programmed to do other things other than cryptocurrency. Like Ethereum, for example, you can set up rules where only when something happens, transaction happens, or if transaction happens, then a rule happens as a programming. You can actually set that up.
And yeah, I can see that happening. And
money can never, like, dollar will never be able to do that.
If you turned it into a cryptocurrency, it could.
Could, maybe, yeah.
So, I mean, I just think something needs to back it up. Right now, you have the U.S. Government, the most powerful group of people in the world.
But other than the U.S. government, what is the dollar backed up by, other than our belief?
Our military, our Congress, our rights that we have to freedom of expression, freedom of speech. All the amendments we have, our checks and balances to ensure that the U.S. dollars is supported and backed by, and it's literally the most powerful backing in the world. There's nothing more powerful than the U.S. government.
And they will always back you up, no matter what. The U.S. government always be behind your back, no matter what happens.
I mean, in the U.S., we would like to believe so, and a lot of countries around the world use U.S. dollar, and they don't even use their own currency. Not every country. I just want to say some.
There's some cities, not countries yet, but there's some cities that are 100% crypto too.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that could happen, and that's good for them. But the thing is, their stability is gonna. If you can find me a cryptocurrency that's stable, I can agree potentially, and that doesn't change over time, then people will be able to see that it doesn't change, and they'll be able to adopt it. And it's not necessarily about the technology, because the Zcash, the Bitcoin, or the Ethereum, sure, they're all maybe can't be hacked or whatever. That's like little technical stuff, but it's about the stability and the time. So after 5 years, I'll be like, oh, okay, this coin hasn't really changed, it hasn't fluctuated, I can put my money into it, and if there's no transaction fees or very little, then I potentially could adopt it. But as long as there's a fluctuation in price, why would you ever adopt it?
Well, there is a Tether. There's a token called Tether, and that it's 100%.
What is that tied to?
U.S. dollar.
My point exactly. Because the U.S. dollar doesn't fluctuate.
But it's still it's probably still better to use that than the dollar, because it's all the benefits of low fees and fast all over the world.
I disagree. I mean, it can be tied to the U.S. dollar, but it's not backed up by the U.S. government. And that just goes to the point. The most stable cryptocurrency is Tether. So you have the U.S. dollar, which is tied to Tether, or vice versa, I meant. And so that's why it's stable. And like I said, my last point, because I know there's a guy waiting, just give us 30 seconds. And, because I know, can I call you how much Bitcoin? Or?
Yeah, whatever you want.
I'll call him how much Bitcoin. But my thing is that it just needs to be stable. People need to believe in it, and it's not necessarily about the technology per se. It's more about people believing in it, and that's what really makes a currency. Because I believe that there's better technology than Bitcoin, and there will be in the future better than technology than whatever we have today. And it's really about how stable it can be.
So I somewhat agree with you, but don't forget that. At the end, people believe in Bitcoin, and that's why it has value. From zero value to thousands of dollars, it's already a miracle. And I highly doubt that it's not going to have any value, like, at any time. So I'm never going to see dollar valuing at thousands times whatever it's worth ever.
Correct. I mean, you can actually see it compared to, like, let's say you compare it to the Venezuelan dollar, right? It's probably worth, I don't know, I'm going to just make up a number, maybe 20 times more than it was. So actually, you do see it comparatively compared to other currencies. You actually do see it increase 20 times. It really depends what you're comparing it to, because the funny thing is, people compare Bitcoin to the U.S. dollar in general. Obviously, you can compare it to other cryptocurrencies, but they actually compare it to the U.S. dollar. So when you say, oh, Bitcoin's increasing, well, U.S. dollar is increasing compared to other commodities and goods.
But it's not just the U.S. dollar. It's like yen or pesos or whatever. Not tied up, because we're in America, so we're looking at Bitcoin compared to a dollar. But essentially, it's everywhere in the world. Every currency has their own exchange to Bitcoin.
Okay, I understand. And, just to go back, last point is that I don't think, and not to insult people holding Bitcoin, but yeah, I don't think that the majority of the people that are holding Bitcoin are using it as a currency and believe necessarily as a currency. I think it's more of an investment rather than a currency. And so I think that's a problem. And that's why you see these fluctuations in price. And also 40% of all people, 40% of all Bitcoin is owned by 1,000 people. So I believe that those 1,000 people can easily collaborate, especially because there's no laws, there's no regulation, there's no government stopping them from dropping, mooning, or whatever you want to call, hodling. I don't know what you guys call it for these cryptocurrency people, but increasing and decreasing the price. So I think that's a big factor. And there's a lot of inside trading. There's a lot of things that can really destabilize it. And I would like to see eventually a cryptocurrency become stable, or the U.S. dollar or something else turn into a type of cryptocurrency. And I think that guy has to go. But it was nice talking.
All right, thank you so much.
Sir.
I disagree, but thank you so much.
Thank you. How much of Bitcoin? Subscribe to him, guys. Subscribe.
Okay, buddy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to. I like listening to the conversation.
Oh no! You heard us?
Kind of.
Okay, it's okay. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you feel about it?
I don't like that idea.
About Bitcoin?
Yeah.
So you're against Bitcoin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Are you?
I'm not for Bitcoin, but I'm not against it. I disagree that it's better than.
The U.S.
I
dollar?
wouldn't say it's